short history of the banjo, where it come from. It's the history of the banjo from Africa to the Appalachian Mountains. The banjo was first brought to America in the 17th century and was actually a gourd with a stick for a neck, probably bamboo. In fact, I think that's where the word banjo originated from, was bamboo, and so it was used, and it had strings on it made of animal intestines, the skin and all on it. It was brought here, like I say, in the 17th century, and as people migrated in from different countries, why the banjo became popular. In fact, it became very popular in the early 1800s, why they started revising it some, adding another string to it. And so I'm going to show you some banjos that I have collected down through the years. I have here a banjo that was made in 1880. And this instrument, you can see it's got the eagles on it, and it only has a small number of brackets. And in the 1700s and the turn of the century, they used animal hides they'd cut the animal hide in strips and weave it into the skin, poke holes in the skin and stick it through the skin and pull it down and stretch it over a gourd, and the gourd had the stick neck in it. And then they would use wooden pegs. I have an original wooden peg here for this instrument, just one, but this was, they did all this by hand. A lot of hard work, a lot of slow work. This instrument right here had a piece of copper from here up with no, that's how they noted on the copper. So the instrument at that time was 4 strings. It came here, I think it was only 3 strings. So from the early 1700s up to around the 1800s, there wasn't too much changed about the instrument. They still played it, that way. And this instrument here is very distinctly made with wood, and it's real thin here and gets bigger till it comes back around thin again to create the same size rim here. This pot is what we call this, and all this is wood. It's braced with wood. It's got wood pegs in it to hold it together, and this is an 1880 model. And then in the early 1800s, 18 and roughly, I don't know the true dates, but around 18, probably 30s up to 1850 something, a man by the name in Appomattox, Virginia, by the name of Jewel Walker Sweeney, added the 5th string to the instrument, and he got the credit for that. And the 5th string was really just a rhythm string. He added the 5th string, and they was tuned, and that was used as just a rhythm string in the early banjos. This banjo here is 1885. This was the banjo I learned to play on. My grandmother gave it to me, and my granddaddy, the late Preston Gerald, taught me to pick a little bit on it. My mother played on it. So this right here, when I first got it, had a cat hide on it, and the cat hide was made from was used on the banjo, and this right here is a goat skin. It's used as a head on the banjo. You can buy these today on the market. They're for sale on the market. You can still buy skin heads from animal skin, calf skin, goat skin, and you could get seal skin. I haven't checked lately, but I'd say you still can. This instrument here, they put a metal inlay over the wood, and I don't know exactly when that took place, but somewhere in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And this banjo here, again, has no frets. This is a 1905 Sears Roebuck model banjo, and you can see how that the instrument has improved. These little metal bars here is wire frets, and they was installed in the banjo. And in the early 1900s, you could order these banjos from a catalog, from mail order catalog, with frets or without frets. It costed 50 cents more to get a banjo with frets. And this banjo here belonged to my first cousin, some people of theirs. In fact, the lady was 102 years old. She died. It was her brother's. He was much older than her. So the instrument, this instrument, when he got it, he thought he would like the frets, but he didn't like the frets. So he cut them out and put a piece of, this is a piece of brass here, and he filed the frets down so he could note it. So these instruments right here, these instruments, this is still playable. So the three-finger roll at this time hadn't come into being. The three-finger roll didn't come in until later on, and I will explain to you as we go through. So the banjo was picked in the early 1700s on up through the 1800s with thumb, one finger, or strummed. Now this right here can be strummed. That's the way the banjo was played for many, many years, and still played like that today. That's called claw hammer because your hand, it looks like a hammer. It's and you strum it, and again the fifth string is a rhythm string, so it works very well. And these instruments is very rare. They're just real old, and I like the sound of. The banjo is a happy instrument. It's real happy, and it's very mind relaxing, and it's just so soothing to sit around and strum on, learning to play. I recommend anybody learn to play any type of string instrument, as I'll be showing you on through the program. But these is just a real mellow sound. The banjos kept changing. This company here is the Wayman Banjo Company, and they're from out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, really. This banjo was built in the 1920s, and you'll notice it only has 4 strings, but it also has a resonator, and the resonator was actually put on the instrument somewhere in the early 1800s, or late 1800s or early 1900s. I'm not sure of the date on that, but this company here was in business from 1864 to 1934, and this was one of their later banjos. Very great instrument, and again, it has a animal skin head on it, as you can see, but it also has a raised head here. So they had. The rest of the animal skins was just stretched over wood. Well, this here stretched over metal to give it a more forward tone, a more projective tone. So these banjos used in big band sounds, jazz, and stuff like that. They was real popular. This is a RB1 Gibson banjo. This instrument here was built by the famous Gibson Banjo Works, and this is a 19, and I think this was a batch of banjo out of the batch that was made in 1934. It's a very unique sound. It doesn't have a tone ring in it. This banjo here has just a tube around it. And you can see the head, it's a flat head. It's these instruments, this, like I say, is an RB1, and they come out of a factory with tone rings and without tone rings, and I'll explain to you what a tone ring does later on. This instrument here is an early 1950s RB250 Gibson, and it's a raised head, what we call a raised head. Now the tone ring is inside of this. It's a heavy ring that gives you a real crisp projecting sound. But this is not animal skin, this is plastic. This is a real tight, you can pull this real tight type of plastic. And this is a head that's preferred this day and time above animal skins, unless you're playing the old music. This is a RB250 banjo, like I said, and this is a RB250 raised head tone ring. And I wanted you boys and girls to see this so you could actually see a tone ring, because the earlier banjos did not have this. They had a tube around the rim of it, and then the very early instruments, of course, had nothing around it. Animal hide was just stretched over the wood. So on your later, earlier model banjos in the 1900s, when they started using tone rings, this is a raised head, and the flat head would be like this, except this ring right here wouldn't be raised up, it would be back here where my finger is, and that would be the flat head tone ring. And the flat head is preferred with the bluegrass pickers. But just a plain banjo with animal skin and is pretty much preferred with the claw hammer players. Up until the 1930s, a gentleman by the name of DeWitt Jenkins started playing the banjo with 3 fingers, with the thumb and the index finger and the middle finger. And he was nicknamed Snuffy Jenkins. He played the banjo 3-finger roll, and then in 1945, the late Earl Scruggs introduced the 3-finger roll to the world on WESM's Grand Ole Opry out of Nashville, Tennessee, and that's when the 3-finger roll really took off. And from that day on till now, they've been using the 3-finger roll on the banjo. So it's very popular, and that's the style that I play most of the time. And you see how they've changed the sound from the 1905 Sears and Roebuck banjo. But I like the sound of all of them, and each one of them has a distinguished sound that is used for different songs. You can use it for different songs. The early folk songs, you know, was like a Froggy Won a Courtin' sounds better played on an animal skin banjo head than it does on the plastic, to me, I think. But the banjo, again, is a happy instrument, and you can use it in your music classes. You can learn to play one. It's become a very popular instrument, and that's how come it to be in mainstream music. Was in the 1945 when Mr. Scruggs actually introduced it to the world. And another gentleman out of North Carolina, Mr. Don Reno, was playing 3-finger style, and all this took place at pretty much the same time. So now you have great banjo players all over the world. You know, it's just great ones. And so the banjo took off more, and you can use a 3-finger roll on so many other string instruments. I'm going to demonstrate to you and tell you how it's used on other string instruments that may have never come along if the banjo hadn't been brought to America from Africa. This is a well-known instrument in America, the guitar, and I wanted to show you the guitar for a simple reason. You know, you can strum them with just a flat pick. I use the thumb pick, but you can strum them with just a flat pick, or you can pick them 3-finger style. This is called a resonator guitar. I think this was invented, it come from Czechoslovakia. The Dobro brothers introduced this to the American people in late 20s, early 30s. But to show you, you play it with a bar, and again, you can use the 3-finger roll that you learned from the banjo. So again, you still with the 3-finger roll that was started out on a banjo. This is a auto harp, and this instrument can be played with a straight pick like a guitar, or with a thumb pick, finger pick, 2 fingers, 3 fingers. I like to use the 3 fingers and the thumb, so we're actually using 3 fingers on this, and it's such a beautiful instrument. It's an easy instrument to learn to play. A lot of schools use and play this instrument. It's played in schools and churches and all kind of gatherings in communities all across the United States. It's a big hit in the Appalachian Mountains. Boys and girls, that pretty much gives you just a little idea of the banjo and what it has, by coming from Africa to the United States, what has come off of it, the different types of instruments that's being played with the 3-finger roll that after the 3-finger roll became popular. So the banjo played a very, very important part in early American music, and I hope you've enjoyed this. And now's the time on the history program that I really enjoy, and that's questions and answers. So if any of you have any questions, we'll have time here for question and answer about the string instruments, the banjo in particular, and any of the rest of the string instruments you may want to ask me a question about.